Tim Cook, can I invite you to address us, please?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. It is a great pleasure to be back in Dublin. And it's an honor and a privilege to join three statesmen this morning, Martin Shanahan and Frank Ryan, who have done so much to advocate for Ireland's creativity, innovation, and talent on the world stage, and Taoiseach Leo Varadkar, who has carried forward Ireland's long tradition of openness, partnership, and economic dynamism. I accept this award on Apple's behalf and as a symbol of our unshakable commitment to and investment in this place we have called home for 40 years, almost as long as Apple itself has existed. The close affection between the United States and Ireland certainly didn't begin with Apple. Our story, in fact, is a familiar refrain. Centuries may have made that transatlantic journey shorter and smoother, but the bonds of friendship and cooperation between our two countries are cherished in a way that defies distance and adversity. I was not yet 3 years old when President John F. Kennedy gave his famous speech before the Oireachtas just down the road from here, declaring that Ireland's hour has come. Less historic and more charming, though, were his speeches to informal crowds as the young president crisscrossed Ireland on his homecoming tour. Nearly everywhere he went, he asked the audience how many of them had cousins in America. When nearly every hand went up, he unfailingly replied, "I've seen them and they're doing well." Of course, thanks to FaceTime, you won't have to take my word for it these days. Today, our forebears' hopes have come to pass. Ireland's hour has not only come, it's decided to stay a while. We chose Cork to be our first operation outside of Cupertino and our gateway to our European customers for good reason. It sits at a geopolitical, economic, and cultural crossroads where the winds of innovation and opportunity blow freely. While getting ready for this trip, I went back and watched a 1980 RTE interview between Apple's founder, Steve Jobs, and Pat Kenny. Steve was 25 then, Pat not much older, and Pat asked him with no small hint of skepticism, "Do you actually believe that every home is going to have its own personal computer within the next few years?" You know, we can laugh now, but it was a fair question then. We have always had our doubters, but nobody ever went far wrong by betting on the people of Cork to achieve the impossible. Thank you. As the saying goes, tus mala na hybra. It is no exaggeration to say that Cork gave Apple the sure foundation that made us the company we are today. Those first 60 employees took a chance on an idea that seemed a little crazy in 1980. Today we have nearly 6,000 employees across Ireland. In Cork, our employees made up 104 nationalities, and they tell the story of Ireland's welcoming and inclusive culture, its commitment to attracting and developing the top talent, and its resolute belief that we can do great things when we do them together. So what is it that we have done together over these past 40 years? You can certainly measure it in growth, in jobs created, in supplier partnerships stretching back decades, in economic activity that spans towns and counties. But just as interesting to me are the goals we've set together that we are still working to achieve. today's ideas that may seem a little crazy. We believe that we can use the power of our partnership to rewrite the future of climate change. Here in Ireland and around the world, Apple runs on 100% renewable energy. We are using our heft, our creativity, and the economies of scale that we can create to take carbon out of the supply chain and out of the economy as a whole, and to one day achieve the goal of no longer extracting materials from the earth. We believe that we can unlock the creativity of every person, and that this vital and equalizing work begins in our schools. Apple's Everyone Can Code curriculum is bringing coding skills to classrooms from Alaska to Ireland. Apple volunteers in Cork's Terence McSweeney School, for instance, have created new outlets for ideas and new access to tomorrow's professions through coding. That school's principal, Phil O'Flynn, told us, "You have to create hope no matter what context you work in." That's what this program does. It lifts the school. We believe that in a time of uncertainty and division, we can grow and reap the benefits of technology by respecting every person's human right to privacy and by standing up to those who would weaponize data to drive hate and extremism. We believe that we show our gratitude to those who believed in us by giving back to the communities that made our work possible. Here in Ireland, Apple employees have made possible millions in charitable giving, supporting charities spanning education and accessibility, global aid, and homelessness. Most of all, we believe that the only thing that limits us, all of us, is not our creativity, our ideas, our passion, or hard work. What limits us is the risk that distrust may overtake optimism, that cynicism may calcify what divides us, and that ambitions we hold in common may shrink from baseless fear. But here today, I promise you that Apple will never turn away from the values that brought us to Ireland in the first place. That same reputation for hope, confidence, and imagination that President Kennedy called Ireland's birthright nearly 60 years ago. And as we look forward to our next decades together, Apple could not be more grateful for your partnership and your leadership. Let's make sure that 40 years from now, when we are old and gray, or older and grayer as the case may be, a room like this one will gather again in gratitude that so many from different backgrounds and experiences could come together over generations and through adversity to leave them a future of even greater promise. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.